thing.
You are angry today. You know, you really are.
Spicy
I
as
think
shit.
I think we need to send Niles some kind of anger management.
Can't even find the fucking brand.
But from, you know, fucking Australia. Welcome to Game of Nodes, a weekly podcast on the cosmos from independent validated teams, guaranteed to be the angriest podcast you hear this week, or your shitcoin's back. So, no, why are you so angry this week? Is it because we dragged you out of bed to come back on the podcast?
He didn't want to be a guest this week.
It looks like you're broadcasting from Noah's closet. Where are you exactly?
I'm in Melbourne.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't have an office in Melbourne, so I'm like in the fucking spare room. Oh my God. I think I'm angry because like I'm sitting in a fucking terrible chair for a week. And you know, for the foreseeable future, I'm gonna be in this shitful fucking chair. And you know, I'm angry about that. As well as like I just woke up to about 400,000 fucking PagerDuty notifications that wouldn't shut up all night. So
could I suggest you just buy a new chair?
That's really those bars are pretty low for you to get angry.
I mean, this chair,
set your
PagerDuty
PagerDuty notifications onto better levels.
Why do I have
I was very close to just putting machines in maintenance mode so I didn't have to listen to their fucking complaining.
Yeah, that's right. 8-hour maintenance. That's
Yeah.
it. Boom.
Yeah.
It's like a shortcut
Maintenance.
over here. What chain is it? Oh, Passage? 8-hour maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, 13-hour downtime, right? Just
let it die anyway. Just fucking turn off notifications, let it die.
If it was
So,
through PagerDuty, I just merged a PR that makes it so severity levels work. So you can set all those things that are annoying you to severity low, and it won't even tell you. It'll be like, meh.
Wait,
no problem.
Wait. I do that now. What do you mean? What did you change?
So it did work before. If you set severity levels in PagerDuty before, while they were in the config, they weren't actually tied to anything. It would read it in and be like, that's nice, and dump it out the side. I've actually gone through and implemented it in PagerDuty. Oh,
okay. I don't think I was using. I was just assigning different PagerDuty endpoints. Like you'd have a default, and then I would use like my default was like high, and then my medium ones I would just add to shit. You know, is that what you mean, or is there's an actual?
There's actual severity now. You can actually
cool.
say for different types of notifications, you can actually set, oh, this is high priority, this is low priority. This you can basically completely ignore.
Can you backport to 1.0?
That I won't do. I probably could, but I won't.
Damn.
I had a similar setup.
Since I upgraded to Since I upgraded to V2, I haven't had a single fucking notification from PagerDuty.
Perfect.
And that's all because of node performance. It don't work. I don't know why.
I think I had a problem where I think I did like a temporary pause or something for the day that I was in the hospital, where I was just like I'm not in a position where I can do anything about this anyway. So I got some there were people covering anyway. So for almost everything I didn't need to be there. And so I did what I thought was a temporary pause. And then I don't know, like a week later or something, there was something that actually was a lockup on like a testnet or something where we have notifications. And I got a text with which is like our ghetto. We have a dead man switch type thing on some things where after a period of time, it just sends me a text and goes, hey, something looks fucked and you might not have had a notification. And I got one of those like a few days later, and I was like, oh yeah, this stuff has just been fully, like, not the nodes, but the PagerDuty setup was just totally fucked and had been like, I basically just completely broken it, like disabled the whole lot, which was dumb. But that's what happens when you're tired.
Just went to sleep.
Don't do maintenance on your PagerDuty setup while exhausted is the moral of that story. Have you just moved to a standing desk?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like tore some fucking cables out of the wall in the process.
Jesus, you're
just getting
a rough morning. Just
the mirror behind you is very exciting for some reason. I can't stop looking at the you behind you because it's just captivating.
It's a good thing. It's good thing background blur's on. Otherwise, it would just be completely disorientating.
Yeah, it's it's not ideal. I was thinking about actually putting like, some green film on all of the mirrors and then putting in a nice background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some chroma keying or whatever they call it. The
I
kids
used to
these days.
do
Green screen.
Yeah.
I used to do when I was on one particular contract where the other people had reasonably good sense of humor. I got a photo where it's a photo from the front of a jet fighter, like canopy going backward, and then did a similar thing, and then always just took my calls dead center, so it just looked like I was in the like a very, very childish joke, but just always deadpan, just joining every single call from the cockpit of a jet fighter.
One of my
Didn't go as far
coworkers.
as to.
Sorry, one of my coworkers did that previously, but with the Star Trek captain seat. So he was always in the captain seat. You could see behind him. Every time I saw it, I was like, "Man, that's brilliant! I love it."
That's actually even better. And now I'm annoyed that I didn't think of that.
Okay.
There's a thing on TikTok where, oh my god, is he dying?
Oh.
The camera. I love it when someone's dying and the camera stops. And you're just like, "Fuck, what happened? Did it explode?"
I think so.
Yeah, on the TikTok, there's that guy that fucking rides around on his push bike with the green screen behind him. Seen that?
Yes.
No.
Big TikTok fans.
Yeah. Huge. You should really. So are we staying?
TikTok is a website,
It's.
and I believe in the app.
Sorry, I got distracted.
Wab 2.
I got distracted by Jake's doing a Twitter space, but it's at 2200 UTC, which is like totally unacceptable. I was like, I was just tweeting drama or no drama. You can't do this during GON time. Like, this is fucking bullshit. I don't care what's going on in your life. Think about others.
An asshole.
In the Twitter space, just come on here.
Yeah, exactly.
Get our view account up.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not cool, man. I mean, I
Hey
know
man,
shit going
five's
on,
respectable. Five's respectable.
You're by far the spiciest and angriest guest we've ever
I
had
mean,
on
for
the show.
trash like this, like five's pretty respectable. So I'm sorry if you're watching
man.
this.
Yep. All right.
This is I like the Snell guy. We should get him on more often.
Yeah, you should come back.
So I mean, we actually have some topics for this week, but it kind of looks like we've landed on the Stargaze Spice as number one. So
What would life be without a little bit of spice? Hey,
I mean, this
I
week
guess
is so spicy though. It's pretty good. And it's like high quality, like tasty drama. It's not like visceral. Well, I guess depending on who you are. Jake probably isn't having a great time right now.
I think Jake is probably finding it to be visceral drama.
I mean, but apparently he gets to think it's visceral drama all the way to the bank, and that's a good place to be.
I mean,
6 milli's fucking not bad. I like the way you put it. Was it you, Frey? Take 6 million out, give 36K back.
I think you still have to said that. If it was me, I would probably respond to the Twitter hate. I would go to a cash point. I assume you can do this in America. I would take about $5,000 in ones. I assume you can still do that. Maybe cash points don't give you ones anymore. I would go home and speak. We were talking about evening showers versus evening baths before the show because we're, of course, very clean people. I would put all of those $1 into my bath. I would get into the bath. I would then take a picture and I would post it on Twitter saying, "Here is what I did with your foundation money." And then I would delete Twitter. That is what I would do.
So how tasteful would it be though? Would it be like your legs are up and then you have like some cash right on your junk to protect yourself for safety reasons? Or like how tasteful would this be?
Bollocks poking through.
I don't feel like 5K in ones is
the
like
boys are out the
covering
barracks.
much up. I mean, you're not exactly swimming in that shit if it's only 5K. You need like
ones now. That's 5,000 banknotes.
It's literally like a stack like that big, right? It's not really that much.
What?
No, that's like several pounds worth of dollar bills.
Yeah, that's gonna fill a bath. Like a bath's not that big. I mean, they look big, but there's not that much water in them.
Like, is there any any? You know, is there water in the
Right.
bath too, or?
Well,
Shit.
he
I'm gonna
will
go-
also.
I'm gonna-
There will
I'm
be
gonna go
volume.
Google how many ones you need to fill a bathtub. I'm gonna be right back.
Well,
We'll
but
switch
Is
to the
there-
water.
your body volume will also be in it, though, right? So like you got to subtract that bit out of it.
Paper's flat. Like you could stack them, and it'd be like, you know, this big.
How the fuck? Jesus, where do we
Yeah,
come from?
I'm skeptical. I don't know how any other way to put it. I'm just skeptical.
Can
Oh
I
my
just
God.
say as well, like
Yeah.
as soon as I started typing out how many $1 bills, first hit to fill a bathtub, fucking Google autocomplete was like, wham! I know what you fucking want, mate.
It's like we get
You've
this
been-
question
you're
all the
asking
time.
same thing everybody's asking, which is how many bathtubs fit
How
in a
much-
dollar bill?
How much
How many
stars?
dollar? God, I'm tired. Sorry.
So
what's the
don't
fucking
leave it-
answer?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Okay, there's a range
Like,
of there's a
you're
range of
far
numbers, which is
aside,
not helpful.
Like maybe people don't even know what we're talking about, right? Like I had no idea until I clicked all the links that were posted and went back and did some research. So maybe people are in the shade on this. They don't even know what's going on.
Okay, so we have a range. We have a range of numbers.
Is the range based
first
off
like
of
the
how big you as a person are?
100 gallons? Is a bathtub 100 gallons? Like that sounds like a fucking huge
That's-
bathtub.
American size.
But a
I
gallon.
feel like we're stuck on a sidetrack. Like,
That's
American.
fucking crazy. Like,
American-
I mean, no
American size.
offense, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure a standard bathtub is actually more like it's probably 100 liters.
That's
No, 25
What?
gallons. No, it's way bigger than that.
Yeah, but think about it. Like an 80-liter rucksack is like that big, which is about the size of the whole of my back and most of my body, and I can't lie flat in a bathtub. I have to put my knees up a little bit in a standard, compact bathtub. Well, what kind of bathtub are we talking about? We're talking about one of those big old Edwardian motherfuckers with like the deep lip. Okay, maybe one of those. But
my
like
60-liter rucksack is
normal
probably
family
only gonna
home
fit half
bathtub
of
where
me in it.
if you're tall like me, your knobbly knees are sticking up. There's not enough space to lie down. That's fucking no way. That's more than 100 liters. I'd have thought.
all right. So
I'm
here,
paying like 300 liters bathtub.
300 liters. Okay, well,
this
so
this thing in
if
the
you
U.S. says
assume
300
100
liters.
gallons.
This
335,000 is the number.
Okay.
It's just being confirmed 300 liters.
300.
No.
Wait, 335,000 USD in dollars fills a 100-gallon bathtub. Is that what you're saying?
That's what the
That's what the
yeah.
interwebs
So
are saying.
the consensus seems to be somewhere between 335 and $550,000, depending on how big you are to displace water, and or whether you even get in the bath. Full stop. So the general assumption here seems to be that it's at the lower end if you get in, the higher end if you're not in the bath.
I don't even.
So that means that-
5,000 wouldn't even cover your gentleman's region.
Yeah, so they're kind of assuming that you take up about $200,000 worth of space in your bath,
Not
which
even
is good to know a number, right?
Not even your Frankenbeans to get 5 grand. You need a lot more than 5,000 to do that. Good thing we're solving these problems.
This could really be one of those interview questions that I was just talking about.
How
Where
many-
like you enter the interview and they're like, all right, you're in a bathroom. How many dollar bills does it need to A, fill up the bathtub, or B, fill up the bathtub while you're in it? And please be as accurate as possible. I've had a very similar interview question before, but it was like golf balls filling up a limousine or something.
Questions like that, you're like, this is academically interesting. Like maybe if I was at the pub with my friends and a couple of them are better at maths, it would be quite fun to like figure this out. This doesn't change whether or not I know how to do a right fold. What the fuck are we doing here, lads?
So how many? So the
I'm
question.
kind of regretting waking up this morning.
So the interview question.
What
She'll see what happens.
talking about?
Is how many stars foundation shares do you need to liquidate to be able to cover your Frankenbeans in a bathtub? And then
So I think you need to liquidate the
Yep.
entire liquid supply of
And then-
Stargaze in order to fill a bathtub enough to cover your junk.
and the Monty Python answer is like, well, an American or a European bathtub.
So hang on, if all the top 10 validators liquidated their stars, could they cover the junk of one validator? That's the question. Because what's the biggest? About 10 million stars, something like that.
That's
Or
what.
is it
What's the biggest?
validated delegate? Like, is in what it's got delegated.
Oh, delegated to it. I don't even know.
60 million, 59 million, something like that.
Is it that many?
Is that enough to cover your junk? Yeah, it might be actually. Hang on.
Voting power. Yeah, 60 million. Figment. There. I mean, that's a good validator. I'm glad they have 60 million fucking stars. But yeah. I'm glad they're
validated.
Glad they're at their number one.
Figment.
That's probably running on some 386 sitting in a data center that nobody's looked at in 20 years with a big sign that says "Do not unplug" on it.
Yeah,
$4
probably like
DPS.
the person who's assigned to look after it has long left the company and didn't leave their SSH keys when they wiped their laptop. They're the only keys on that box. They're just really hoping there's not a Stargaze upgrade anytime soon. Yeah, so that'll do it. So Figment can hide their modesty if they liquidated somehow all of their delegators tokens.
Jesus.
So yeah, there you go.
There we go. Wait. So what is the drama? Do we actually come back to Noel's question?
You heard it here first. 660 million stars will cover your junk.
Sold at the right time.
Sold at the right time. Well, sold now. That's today's prices. You need 60 million stars to make $500,000. Well, $600,000 to definitively American or European bathtub hide your modesty.
Either way.
Welcome to Game of Nodes.
We're ignoring our guest.
Sorry, Noel. So we understand that you're very big in the sledging game. How did you get into that, and what made you kind of interested in going on Twitter and sledging other people involved in the ecosystem?
I haven't said a fucking goddamn thing on Twitter in like 2 months. I learned it it's best that way.
I mean, factually correct.
Yeah.
But well, the joke doesn't work that way. So anyway, to be fair, actually, you are right. You haven't actually been a spy. You haven't been spying. You know, actually, it's not that you haven't been spied. You just haven't been here. You've been here. You've been off doing walkabout.
Fuck, I've just been busy, man. It's like so much shit going on. And yeah, man, I just got sick of Twitter. It's like so much bullshit on there. I've blocked people, which I don't normally do. Whenever I opened up that feed, I just got sick of seeing shit. So I started blocking people. Like,
good.
Fuck all this noise. I don't need this. And so, yeah, I've just been generally pretty fucking spiced up for the last couple of weeks. Missed the group chats, the live group chats for a couple of weeks now, for various reasons. For some reason, it's always been falling when I'm traveling. Traveling doesn't make me happy either. So, yeah, man, I need a fucking holiday.
When you say spiced up, do you mean like Dune, perhaps?
Dune spice, no.
Hey, has everybody seen the trailer for part 2?
When is Dune 2? It's like October, right?
Yeah.
You know what? This is probably a hot take, but I'm not super stoked for it. The first one, oh my god, it was so dramatic. Like Dune is it's a space opera, so obviously it's dramatic.
Yeah.
But like, oh my god, like you're waiting, like you're looking across sand, and the music's like, wah. Like, it doesn't need to be this intense. Yeah, exactly.
TBH, I didn't think that the first one was that great.
Can I just say that I think that's actually a really good impression of the Sardaukar at the beginning of the film.
It's not bad.
To the point that I did that one morning where my wife wasn't expecting it, and she fucking freaked out because she finds it really disturbing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm obviously a massive stan of the new film, and I'm a massive stan of Denis Villeneuve, the director. But if there's one guy who could split into 2 parts and maybe not fuck it up, it's probably Denis Villeneuve. But I am worried. I'm concerned. Like all people who get a good thing and fear it's going to end, because nothing's forever, dude. That's how I feel about about part 2.
I mean, I thought that it was well. I thought the first one was well done. It was just, I don't know. It was a lot. Like, not only was it 3.5 hours, but it was also 3.5 hours of like a buildup of suspense, and then they had basically no catharsis at the end. So the movie ends, and you're like, do I need to go smoke or something? Because I feel like I didn't get that release of tension that
I am 100% with you, because it oh man. So I didn't realize there was part 2 when I went to see it. I went with a friend, and it was like Dune, and then it has the subtitle part 1. And I was like, what the fuck, in the cinema.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I was still kind of like not really, I didn't really believe it until the credits at the end. And you're like, oh my god, I can't. Literally, when they, the bit where it's going to be the end, you're like, oh no, this is going to be the end. This is literally going to be the end. I can't believe they're doing this. This is literally the end. So I turned to my friend, like, I think this is the end. This is the end of the film. And like, he's like, I don't know. I'm checking my watch. This isn't going to be the end of the film. And I was like, it's the end of the film, mate. They're literally about to roll credits on this. And then they did. And we were both like, oh, like sad child voice. It was, we just went to the pub and got drunk.
So that's how you got your emotional release. But I think I just drove an hour and a half home, and I was like, well, shit.
Yeah. I was with doctors, and so they were just like, just went to the pub, and then they just, got drunk and were kind of vaguely like, so who died this week? And you're like, it doesn't really, we didn't get the film we wanted, but it's fine. We can just like wait 2 years till the next one. That's cool, man. It's fine. I just heard servers. I don't have it so bad. Yeah. So Stargaze drama. Do we want to actually
like talk about it?
Should we talk about that? I notice we're losing one of our regular panelists is going to the Jake space. So I feel like it's super fucking late here, but I feel like I should.
It's prime time in the States, baby.
Oh, there goes Frey. Gone.
Yep, he's like, see ya, deuces.
Thank God, man. That guy does not shut the fuck up.
Oh, he's back.
But I'm back.
I've been wondering, like, is it really that bad that I haven't been showing up? Like,
wow.
I've missed about like 7 minutes of airtime in that fucking 3 weeks I haven't been here. So.
You are spicy today.
I've long said that fucking Frey talks way too much.
Well, yeah, but then if he doesn't, then none of us
show
do.
with fucking 3 guests.
I am an introvert who talks because he finds it awkward when there's not background noise. So that's why I find doing the podcast so very tiring, because I have to fill a lot of dead air. As you know well, the podcast is like a professional bike sprint. You have to get your elbows out and you have to fight for your position in order to get to the line, Null. And I can't help it that you don't have a winning attitude anymore in terms of getting your voice on the podo.
I just get sick of talking over people. I much prefer just to listen. I'm a great listener.
Who told you that?
You're fucking dying today. Like, your camera's dying, you're dying, you're fucking hacking up a lung.
Bad.
Jesus Christ. Should we call an ambulance?
If he goes down, I'm calling an ambulance.
I'm not.
And send him where? He's like,
I don't know.
He's in like the northern part of the UK.
He's in the north. He's in the north. Just keep going.
They'll be like,
going.
They'll be like, chest infection, is it, love? Well, bloody join the back of the line. We're all ill up here.
Exactly where he lives, but we do know his house is shaped like a teepee.
Everybody's
He's on the third floor behind the bikes.
Every fucking house is shaped like it. I can't even emphasize enough how I basically live in an episode of Coronation Street. So it is basically just back to backs around here, love. And
we don't really have like
it's all
addicts
cake.
in our
It's all
neck of the
cake and mills.
What do you mean you don't have addicts?
Mills? The fuck is a mill?
A mill?
A mill? Like a
lumber mill?
Flour mill?
Where you know. a mill, like, water powered, make clothes stuff, mill.
You should really fucking take some of that like AWS money and get yourself some better internet.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened. I think it's like the laptop needs a upgrade. It's being a bit of a pain because the internet is apparently 400 megabits up here, but it just keeps dropping out for some reason. But
So, does anyone want to do the TLDR on the Stargaze thing, which we've been like dancing around for 10 minutes?
I feel like I wouldn't be the best person for that. I can do it if no one else wants to fill in, but
I think Usurper knows all about it, or I don't. I read the thing, but unless it's in front of me, like I'm not going to be able to recite it.
Ooh, wait. I'm actually might be the person for it since you guys validate on stars. I have no. I have no validate.
Stars.
I'm not on stars.
I
No,
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I can throw out.
Pull out your spice basket, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh, I think I already tweeted the spiciest take we're going to see, and probably lost myself a load of delegations.
I did. I think I did also lose my Juno delegation, so I'm free balling it at this point.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So
I would wait for the assessment on that because we, due to various reasons, we've changed around a couple of rules for the first round. If we ever get to the end of it,
I think I must have dropped off because I didn't even fill out your fucking form.
Yeah, you're not getting shit.
Stick your form up your ass. Stupid fucking.
I'm gonna make it even more convoluted and complicated next time.
You want like proof and shit? Jesus, like who the fuck do you think you are? You want links? God damn it. Anyway,
if I get it my way, I want to make it fucking automatic so people don't even need to apply. They just get delegated to if they do the right things.
If you believe that, you wouldn't have a fucking form.
I'm actually building a tracker like bot right now that could track anything you want to track. Probably we should talk after this.
Yeah, man.
Anyway,
if you've got something that can make my life easier than spending fucking 200 hours on something that I don't get paid for, I'm all ears.
We'll see. I'm using all internally right now, but I don't see why I couldn't make the data available to you if you wanted it. Anyway, ignoring that. Yeah. So back to stars.
Sorry, that's one drama. Schultzy, can we keep on? We need to talk about the other drama, the specific, the drama.
Let's stay on track here. Let's stay on track. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So I think the start of this, the genesis, the nascent drama was Don Kryptonium posted a Google sheet of like, they're trying to figure out who a stars whale was that sold $6 million USD worth of stars over the course of basically last year. My understanding is they didn't know who it was originally. He just tracked all of their transactions on Osmosis. And they have a chart that goes with it where like you can see like $200,000 sold and then the stars price kind of dips, right? And it just happens repeatedly. Well, Don posts this sheet. He's like, "Hey, who's this whale? I don't know." And then I think it was someone from the Osmosis lab maybe that was like, "Oh, that actually is Jake. That's Jake Hartnell's." And so then more research was done. It was confirmed to be Jake Hartnell's account, and from there, so I think that a lot of that came out yesterday. That he did selling yesterday. And I'm not going to make any claim about whether selling is good or bad or whatever. I mean, we're all in crypto to make money, right? So take however you will. But I think the follow-up drama is...
you can make money in Cosmos?
In theory, that's the goal, I think.
Some people do.
Yeah, some people.
I mean, I just hate sleep, so that's...
There's that too. So there's that bit. That's the first part. Part one starts with $6 million of stars was sold. And there's addendum to that too. Like apparently it was more like 2/3 of how much was ever made off of the star NFTs and stuff. But anyway, and then the follow-up drama was today was that the stars team came out with a tweet thread. I think my understanding is Jake was removed from the stars like founding team. He gave his founding stars back. I don't know how that would have worked because
He sent 'em.
presumably,
There's a transaction.
oh, it
Yeah,
wasn't
but
like vested or anything.
Oh, so
Literally.
they must be
Oh.
like the vesting period must be up. It was relatively short, I think. It was like
Okay,
a cliff
It was
and
a
then
1 year
a
lockup.
short vesting
Oh yeah,
period,
got it.
1 year lockup invested for 1 year. So we're past that, I think, right?
Got it. So he sent his stars back.
Mhm.
And then following that, there was just kind of like a drama fest of like Jake hasn't even been active here, and he's stealing code, and
Yeah, some of these other ones are right.
yeah, and so that's kind of where it ended.
and of course they're just accusations, right? Like there's no much like the fucking recurring Juno drama. There's no one actually puts any facts to anything. They just say stuff, right? I mean, I didn't see any like hard facts about the other claims. Only the spreadsheet of sales, I guess. But is the spreadsheet of sales? Is it like a Wolf thing where they only put the sales on there and none of the buys?
That's an interesting point. I didn't check that, but yes, I believe it is only sales that are on there.
Yeah, because that's like I remember that Takumi sheet that went around that everyone keeps banging on about, where it's like tracked all of Wolf's accounts, but it's like it's just tracked like IBC out or whatever, and it hasn't like tracked any of IBC ins or anything like that. And like I know that Wolf has accounts where he's just bought up shitloads of Juno over periods of time. So yeah, I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt until you see the full picture, I say. But even still, like, you know, I'm not going to really comment on whether selling them's beyond his purview or not. I mean, do you give something? Does someone have something that they're not willing to sell? Like, there's a price for everything, right?
I mean, isn't the fucking point that you make some money, you can sell it? Like the tokenomics.
Well, what did they think was going to happen? Why'd they have the fucking tokens? Like,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, and there's nothing. I mean, the morality of it, whether or not a founder can sell, that's something that each individual can make that decision, right? I mean, that's up to the individual. But there's nothing like illegal or immoral about what happened. Like these are open tokens, and it went through the vesting period of those other ones. Those weren't sold, and you can see like from this picture. I'll put the link in the show notes, but there's sales before the price popped, like early on in 2022 in January, and it's all the way to the peak. It's on the way down, and then there's like I don't know, what is this, a 6-month or 8-month break after there's nothing going on, and it happens again, in 2023. So it looks pretty consistent. I'm not sure of the values in terms of number of stars sold, and the dollars are way down this year, but so is the price. So I don't know. I mean, this enough. I mean, it has a material impact on the price of stars, catalyzing the downward pressure right at the airdrop, and most recently at 6 cents. Like that's true. I mean, selling large amounts definitely has a huge impact on the LPs. We all know that, right? But I don't know.
And I think it'd be easy to argue that he is, maybe not to the full extent, but is giving back. I think he has 2 full-time developers hired like on basically his staff working on products within the Cosmos.
Yeah.
So he is in a sense still being productive with that money.
Sure.
It's not
you don't need
need
this much money for 2 devs though, but whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
maybe not necessarily like productive for just Stargaze though, I guess might be the issue.
Yeah. And this, I mean, I don't know about the code piece of it, that's out of it, but I mean the idea that as a founder of a chain, and if you start putting large sales in there and really dropping price down, that's definitely painful, right? Like if you have somebody selling large enough amounts to really move liquidity pools and really lower price over a period of time, and knowing that Terra doesn't fucking help the fact, right? So all that shit happening here too. These are around the same time frames, and so that's challenging, right? And then, but the whole thing around like being involved in, I do want to talk about other things too, because we could talk about that. Somebody else came out, I think it was about we'll come into it, but somebody was talking about the idea of working for multiple chains and how prolific that is in the Cosmos. We should talk about that too at some point, but I don't know.
As a side note, I wouldn't mind knowing where that spreadsheet actually originated.
What do you mean? Like this? I assume it's
Well,
transactions off Mintscan, right?
Yeah, you don't think it's from Dun Kryptonium?
well, how many transactions are on there? Does it look like
It's
it
like
would
20.
have
100?
come-
No, no,
Is there-
no, no. There's like at least there's got to be, I don't know. This is like the number of dollar bills to cover your junk in a bathtub, but there's a lot of dots on this thing. There's got to be at least, I would say, at least 100 transactions, maybe.
Okay, let me go.
Is it
find
all
the
from the
sheet
one
again.
account, or is it like jumped
all-
around?
I
All
don't
from the
know.
one.
That data's not in there. It just says it doesn't say if it's all from the same wallet or not.
Okay, it looks like there's
Hmm.
literally 99 cells. I'll post it in the chat.
Yeah. I don't know. There's lots of dots. And each one's a transaction, right? So this one graphs date and then dollars in USD, although I don't know exactly what that's coming from. I'd rather see IBC transactions out, I guess, than dollars in USD. I don't know how you really make that decision unless they're actually, maybe this is the Osmosis wallet and they're tracking that. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Yeah, that's correct. It's the Osmosis wallet that they're tracking.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's only Stargaze, right? Because Juno would be in here as well. I don't know. That doesn't mean it has each one of these has to be star sales unless they filter that down. But maybe.
Yep, it's filtered down. It's filtered down to
Oh, wow.
star token in, then token out. Basically, is what it's filtered down to.
Yeah. So there you go. No.
So, yeah, okay. Well, it kind of feels like psyops to me, being a skeptic.
Which part? You mean just break this coming out?
Yeah, it just feels like a bit of a targeted takedown. You know what I mean? Like,
but down works for Stargaze, right? So is this from the inside out, or was this? Yeah, he does. So does that mean like, hey, we want to figure out who this is, and oh shit, we know, or do we always know who this was, and so now down is the.
I feel like it's pretty unlikely that people didn't know if someone was selling that kind of volume that was materially affecting the price. Like, I feel like it's probably been known for a long time.
I mean, if I was a chain owner, I would be watching daily IBC transactions, right? I would watch the shit out of that because I don't want to know exactly what's coming in and coming out. And I would think that early on you would know about this 2 years ago, right? You wouldn't know about it, or whatever it is, 18 months ago. You wouldn't know about it today.
I feel like this goes back to a conversation we had a long time ago around like a certain amount, like certain standards that could be created around Cosmos chains. Not that like chains should have to follow it, but like these are some checkpoints you should look for to be able to trust a chain or like the founders. Having a 1-year vesting period, for example, is kind of a red flag for like the tokenomics of the chain, right?
Yeah.
Like once it hits that point, they're just going to be burned away.
Right,
potentially.
But bear in mind in this case that the tokens that were sold, similar to the Wolf case, actually, are vested token. They're the interest minted on vested tokens. So the vesting, the lockup, is all by the by. It means nothing because you just stake the tokens, and you're going to get, depending on how many tokens are actually locked up, you're going to get 100% of them back year one. Or well, Juno it was 100%. Other chains it's usually around 100%. Stargaze, I guess, because of the inflation model, it would have been like 70%, 60%. My maths. Somebody check my maths. Whatever. The point is that you're going to get a significant portion of those in year one because of the way the thirding works or whatever. So it's less. It's the combination of the thing that Schultz saying, which is about lockup and investing, and it's also about like the tokenomics itself. And the irony here, right, is that retail want super high interest rates that reward people who enter early, right? And especially in app chain winter, that was the thing. And the problem with that is that retail win while the price is going up initially, and the devs win, and that's great. Everybody wins. And now we end up in the depths of a bear market substantially later, where these tokenomics that were never sustainable have proven to be not sustainable until there's another bull run. And while we're doing the all let's eat each other thing, it's like, oh, look back to this thing that happened at that point, people sold. And it's like, well, yeah, but if you were bought on a Monday and sold on a Friday during that same period, you would have probably got a 20 or 30% return on your initial, which is insanity. Like the saving rates where I live have been less than 1% for the last 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Until interest rates have gone up again recently. So there is a little bit of a reality check here, which is that if anything sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And the whole of crypto is a completely unsustainable tokenomics model that is fraught with systemic risk. And if
it's the entire function of pumponomics, right? This is like what people are buying into, and people get burnt time and time and time again and continue to do the same dumb shit. Like if you've got a fucking
I resent that
800% like APR. What the fuck?
We've all been a part of this, right? Where we've been in on chains early doors as validators, and we've just compounded our way into a tax bill, and then it all falls apart. And you look at it now, and you're like, "What the fuck was I thinking?" But at the same time, maybe the reality here is, we can sit here and say, whatever, because obviously there was enough to cover the tax bill in the end, and things kind of panned out okay, and lesson learned, but obviously people have been burnt more, right? And so they're angry, and so that's it's difficult, because you're just like, you can't just be like dismissing the fact that people have been burnt by the Ponzi-nomics, but you're also just like, if you look at the regular economy, which is already unstable, like look at the stock market, which is already unstable. These are unstable, complex systems, and then you look at crypto, and you don't understand the level of risk that you're playing with. I do have a limited amount of sympathy for not understanding that, because it is very, very obvious the level of systemic risk involved.
I think people know. Like, you look at the people that are jumping on board with things like Dogecoin and Pepe and fucking any one of like 10,000 other shit coins on BNB, and people know that they could get rugged at any minute. They know that, like, any number of things can happen, but there's also the small chance that they can buy $9 worth of Pepe and fucking sell it 3 days later for $9 million. Like, they're taking risk to get the easy payday. But what happens 99 times out of 100 is that, most of those people get burnt when they lose their $9. And you aggregate all those $9 together.
I guess there's a bunch of questions involved in this drama which are interesting, right? One of them is it okay for a dev to take profit? I say yes, doubly so in a bull where the sell can be absorbed. Is, what is their obligation to the chain? That's a more interesting one, right? And how long does it last? If there's no contract, I don't know. Like, I've recently gone back to doing some corporate contracting, and my current contract has a series of very, very interesting break clauses on it, where obviously I don't get to exercise these. If I do anything where I say I want to break the contract as the weak little Billy Smallballs, I have the luxury of going to fuck myself and receiving no pay, right? That would be, us as a company, our obligation ends and we get no money, right? But there's always fucking spicy things in contract that they're never going to get used. But when you dig down into a long contract, where there's like, if the board of directors decides that there is a reasonable case for termination without pay and no additional payments, you basically, the Billy Big Balls can tell Billy Small Balls to fuck themselves, and also you're not getting paid. All of these interesting things that are complex contractual things are just not fucking there, right? So then how is it is difficult to then say, well, okay, so somebody was a founder, brought the thing to market, it launched, the product's live, brought the main product to the market. What's their obligation from that point going forward? It's not
Well,
specified. And the
yeah.
Genesis allocation is a Genesis allocation. And from the point of view of the tax man, that's your money. You got to pay tax on it. You got to pay capital gains on it.
I think there's like an unspoken expectation that like founders will do what's best for the community. I think that's like the unspoken expectation from the community. But is it written in law anywhere? No. Should they bake better things into how the token distribution to founders goes? Yes, if users don't want to get dumped on. Like, for example, maybe founders' tokens shouldn't be able to take advantage of pumponomics, for example. Maybe they don't earn rewards for 2 years or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's already a pretty big bag. And if you want long-term alignment with the chain, then you really don't want to reward a short-term, gain. So, I feel like there's things people can do. They just don't do it because they're the founders, and obviously they want to sell fucking tokens. And the only way they're going to get it on vested tokens is with the interest from the pumponomic. But it's just people, like the vast majority of people entering into an early stage chain are not there for the technology of the chain. They're there for hype and pumponomics and to try and make a quick buck, in my opinion. It's the long-term people who stick around who are mainly getting burnt by the falling token price after the realization of like, after sell pressure, because the graph goes the same every single time. There's like, people on board, they want to get in on the returns in the short period of time. They buy up the token moons. At some point, there's a nexus at some point where the returns aren't good enough to, or the people selling out from making the returns are eclipsing those entering, trying to get in on the returns. And then it goes down. It's the exact same cycle every single fucking time.
Yeah. And the only way that changes is if those chains start generating revenue to the point where it pumps that stuff back up, because it's no different.
The revenue isn't like, that's not going to happen for years. You need to steadily grow a user base. You need to like develop your products. Like most of these chains are launched without, good proper products developed. They're like minimum viable product to get out there and get the token on the market so they can sell it to continue development. It's not, these are early stage ventures.
Right, which is why there's so much money in L1s. I mean, this is no different than any other business, right? Because you have, especially as like a founder structure, you have VCs involved or outside investors. They're all at the trough, right? They've all put in money in some sort of sense or time, and they're all waiting for the time when they can pull that money out, or at least a percentage of it, because they're all making decisions on how much do I pull out, what do I not pull out, and is this going to go higher than this, and so am I giving up future rewards, right? It's no different. And so retail people, meaning like we would be considered, not us as validators, but we're a different group, actually even worse than I think some parts of retail, because we have, anyway. But as a retail person, either they're, to your point, like they're either trying to time it out to get to the point where it's going to be worth something and try to sell it off at some sort of peak, or at least run it up 100% or 200%, or they are, or they're going to be able to see that go away completely because the timeline of the founders and others who might have more data than a retail person does make the decision that this is the time to be able to remove it. So, like, I don't know, like, I'm actually really, my question to Jake would be, why did you not, I mean, I don't know how much, I actually don't know how much percentage of ownership was sold in these numbers, because all I see is the dollars. What I'd really like to see is, of the stars owned, what percentage did he dump? If all that money turned into like, hey, I had 10% and 10%'s gone after a founder got to a point of being able to liquid something out, that's actually not that bad. And like, that seems like a reasonable percentage. And maybe the numbers are really high and it's too much for the liquidity pools, but who knows? Because he doesn't know what's coming next, right? He's selling at 80 cents. He might be thinking the thing's going to $18, right? So in his eyes, I'm selling it at 90% or 10% of the value because I want to be able to pull some money off the table. That would be reasonable. If he sold 90% of it, and that's a strength, that's a showing of I have no faith in this thing that I built. Right? That's a different piece. And you can't tell it from the numbers here. So I don't know what the numbers are.
So if you're looking at it like the intentions aside, as far as the chain, like Jake's attitude towards the chain or anything like that aside, right? When you're looking at like the buy sell ecosystem as a whole,
Yeah.
even though there was sales from that account at certain periods of time, which may have affected the price, right? When you look at it holistically, if he didn't take that, someone else would have. And I don't think that materially there would be much difference in the outcome for the price over that period of time anyway.
It's not either or though, is it? Because people are selling during that time anyway, right? It's not like it's not like somebody else didn't sell because Jake was selling all these numbers right here.
So
but that's what I'm saying. Like he might have taken
saying.
a lot of profit off the table, or he might have taken, some LP off the table. But if he didn't, someone else would have. It's not like the price was going to stay up here because Jake didn't sell. It was always going to go down. It's just a matter of how fast, right?
So the way of thinking about this a little bit is like, 9 out of 10 companies fail in their first 3 years, right? Knowing that fact, as business owners, everybody in this podcast is a business owner. If you have a good year, let's say it happens to be your first year, you take as much of the liquid cash out of the company and put it into your own name as you can, because you've got bills to pay, you've got a mortgage, you've got whatever. Does your accountant turn around to you and say you lack faith in your business? Or does your accountant go, well, you've got enough liquid cash to run your business, that's probably a sensible move? Like, that's what I mean. Like, there's an element here of like, if you know that there is an inherent risk that it goes, no matter how hard you work on it, no matter how many years, there's an inherent risk that it does go to zero, which is the evidence we have. What do you do? Like, for virtue signaling reasons, you don't take a profit.
It's just the amount. That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's
I don't agree that if he doesn't sell, then this price continues to go down. That doesn't make any sense to me. However, I don't know how many tokens are in here, but like, those are big numbers, and it doesn't mean that like that price, if those don't end up in the liquidity pools, somebody else would fill that gap. I totally don't agree with that. Like, it might be a percentage of that, but 100% to say that means we can predetermine what the price is regardless of how many people sell or buy. Like, I don't know what that means.
The price follows market sentiment, and the market, like, out of all of the tokens in the Cosmos, most of them lost 90+% during the bear market. And all of them were going to do that after a run up from a pump anyway. So yeah, I think yes. I do think that.
But what's a pump though? 80 cents?
The initial pump. I was just talking about it before.
Juno went to 45. This is at 80 cents. Are we is that a pump number? Or is it 90%? Is it 1% of its capability? Like this is hindsight. You're looking at the graph to make a decision to say this is a pump number. But at the time, at 60 cents, I was looking at it to say this thing should be over $1, right? Like this is a great product. It's delivering a ton. This has a long runway ahead. And to say that that's a pump time or that's a dump time at 80 cents, I don't know if everybody felt that at the time.
For what it's worth, I remember in Lisbon in 2021, so this would have been immediately, was it 2021? How fucking old are we? How long have we been doing this shit? We've been doing this podcast over a year. Jesus Christ. So yeah, like nearly 2 years ago in Lisbon. Okay, so nobody's obviously talking about price, but I feel like there was a general vibe that Stargaze nailing the NFT thing would be over $1 easy in this first couple of years.
Yeah, I would.
That was because like, I don't know where I've pulled that out of my memory, but I feel like that was just me and the other validator degens that were going to be validating Stargaze, and we were just all fucking geeing each other up over $1 plus Stargaze.
Yeah,
but that is a number that I feel was deemed pretty fucking reasonable. And that, well, I mean, look where we are now. But there was a kind of sense of like, you know, $1 and then maybe half $1 as a price floor would be pretty fucking sweet. Obviously, the price floor was more like the ATH, but you know, so there's a bit of that. But then there's something else that like I think is worth kind of considering is like, you know, startup founders are already the most risk comfortable people, you know, kind of in the market, I suppose, and then doubly so in the doubly so doing this fucking mad shit. So there's another element of, you know, back to my previous point where you recognize how unlikely it is that you do succeed and make profit. When you see that on the table, what do you do?
I mean, again, it all depends on, I think, the percentages of what that means. So, like I said, it's tough to figure out what's going on from this graph because it's all U.S. dollars, and in U.S. dollars, it looks really dramatic. I'd really like to see percentage of ownership. That would actually show me a little bit more. But
yeah, in the chat, Ben Davis, who's obviously the other part-time host of Game of Nodes, maybe should literally just actually join Game of Nodes. But anyway, that's a shower thought. Ben, join us on the podcast. Said that on CoinGecko, first half of the sales daily volume is between 1 and 2 million, some days as high as 4 million. So
to put that in context,
summary from our analyst on the trading floor, Ben Davis. He's called in
real time.
Yeah, it's like the day to day, isn't it? We're going live to Ben Davis at the European Economic Summit. It is unlikely he really moved the market much on any given day. Thanks, Ben. And now back to you in the studio.
So presumably most of that, like, you know, given the disparity in price between selling at the high and the low, right? Presumably most of that dollar value was made in the pump, at the initial pump, right? So if he's sold $6 million worth of tokens, right? Say it was all around ATH, it's only 3 million tokens.
Yeah.
So
that's 10%, right? At least maybe that would be reward. I'm not sure it was all 30 staked or there were 30 plus some other ones as well. I don't know, whatever. But you're right. It might be just purely rewards based on early APR, right?
Yeah. So, you know,
good numbers.
I think there's not, like, the numbers don't carry a lot of context, and it's just, you know, I'd like to see a bit of a better analysis than a graph.
I look forward to delivering that next week.
So there's also, like, you got to remember that these chains were predominantly airdrops, right? So I think that Stargaze in the long term also suffers from the same problems as Juno does, and that, I think, is that the early airdrop recipients have no skin in the game at all, and probably received the biggest bags there are on Juno. Even in comparison to people who are buying up, like, long term, having a bag of 50,000 Juno is still, today, after the drop, is still 25 grand, right? Or 30 grand. And over the year or so that Juno's been live, I would almost guarantee that 90% of the sell pressure on Juno is from original bag holders collecting monthly and selling their fucking Juno. And I think that a lot of the sentiment around developers and stuff dumping on the community is absolute bullshit. I mean, there is a little bit of truth to it in that, but that's what you want those particular bags of Juno for, is to be able to sell it, to continue development on Juno. Like, you don't want to just stall development because price go down. But yeah, I think if you look at the long-term sell pressure, I think 90% of it comes from original bag holders who don't give a fuck and just care about Atom and are dumping on the community, not these other forces that they use as like a talking piece on Twitter.
I want to add to that I think that's kind of it's a great point. One of the criticisms that was thrown towards Juno quite a bit was how they didn't convert a lot of their Juno bag for the team into USD or something non-Juno in order to...
That's my criticism. I think they should have. I think in the run-up, they should have taken that opportunity to capture the hype and put that money into USD. it doesn't show a lack of faith in the chain. It shows a long-term risk management strategy that allows the chain to continue to develop after the hype's over. And also, if you sell hard into a rising market, then it also keeps a cap on the price and stops people getting wrecked as hard. So
exactly.
I
That's
think
what I was
that
getting
would
at,
have
was
been a
that
good thing.
I think that Jake's move, it wasn't the team tokens that were being sold, but it's still like it's part of a risk management structure, right? Like the team bag. I don't know if there was a team bag for stars, if there was like a development fund and then individual funds. I don't know what the Genesis allocation looked like, but diversifying is part of good risk management. That's just key. That's everything. That's a fact. And the fact that he did diversify out and that he apparently didn't sell any of his Genesis allocation, just the staking rewards, I think that says something as well. I think that
Well, he couldn't, right? They were locked.
well, but they haven't been locked for the last 6 months.
I'm not sure what the timelines are because I think it was that chain launched in maybe somebody else can help me out, but let me take a look. But it was a year lock and then
October the 1st, 2021, I believe.
2021. So October,
So
that'd be
Jake
October 2022. And there are sales after October 2022. So it might be, but those might be rewards or some. But you're right, the full 30s there. You're right. So actually, it hasn't sold any principal on that. It's only been rewards off of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, it's a lot. It's absolutely a lot. Like I would say that goes beyond just risk management, but it doesn't change the fact that it is a risk management strategy that he executed, and I wouldn't fault him for it. Though, again, 6 million is quite a bit.
All right. Do we kill this freaking topic?
Yeah, I want to talk about Ledger or the secret halt. Well, the secret halt's not quite as interesting as what's going to come out here soon. Probably in the next week.
What is that's like a fucking,
So
what the hell is that
before we move on, we can put a bullet in this, but I
Sounds like we're not going
want
to
to say one more thing, which is that I'm pretty certain I know the context of the accusation about the code.
Yeah.
If it's the thing I think it was configuration for how to get started. It's basically configuration ripped out of a Next.js app for Kepler, and it was thrown into the Juno starter kit for letting Cosmos and developers just fucking spin up a starter kit to connect to Kepler. If it's the thing I'm thinking of, which I know literally came out of a Stargaze repo, technically it shouldn't have. It was a private repo, but it's literally the connect to Kepler stuff that was then used to help other developers get started. And that I literally made a video on Callum. Obviously, was also we did that whole series. I remember there being a thing around that code, and if that's the thing there is, then honestly, Jesus fucking Christ, that's petty. If it's not, I'm wrong. Fuck Frey. What does he know? But there was vaguely something around it. Yeah, whatever. The whole code thing is the one thing there. I'm like, that's just my bullshit detector is completely through the roof. But you know, I obviously know Jake and have known Jake for some time, so I'm kind of biased on this one. I know all the parties involved, and I don't really want to throw shade because I actually like everybody involved a lot. But I will also say that I think the entire thing stems essentially from an interpersonal issue. And I think the fact that it came from Don, who effectively works for Stargaze, is actually not a fucking coincidence. And I think it is a little bit of a manufactured drama when a couple of people really should have just privately resolved something that had been an issue for a while.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was saying before is I think anybody if you're part of that core team, you know this is going on. So for it to wait for 18 months until May of 2023, clearly there was something else happening. Like this is maybe it just got enough outside visibility that something had to happen, right? Or something similar to that because there was too much fervor. There's too much foam getting generated here or something. But like, I don't think anything that any of these, obviously they've been talking about this for a while, right? And I don't think there's anything that's like surprising here from a folks who have been involved. So it's just the timing's weird. I think is my point.
I think Ben Davis has abandoned us for the other chat.
Yeah,
well,
there's a
he said
Jake Fudd chat, Twitter Spaces. I'll post it in the chat in case you guys want to.
They're recording it too. Yeah,
I imagine there's going to be some good drama in there.
Well, I noticed our view account fell off a cliff.
well,
Thank you to our loyal viewers.
There's
said he
better
asshole.
drama elsewhere.
Ben did say he was going to go there and say, "How dare you do this during Game of Nodes," which I believe he will do. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I noticed that as well that Usurper, you had mentioned the God.
Come
Say
on.
this problem. My brain's just the tired baby shit. Like
Just use
Usurper,
words.
you tweeted at Jake, "How dare you? How dare you lock up with Game of Nodes?"
Yes, it's a bunch of
Well
bullshit.
done.
I think
Well
is what
done.
I said.
Good.
I said I know you've got some shit going on, but Twitter Spaces during Game of Nodes is by far the largest infraction revealed
low blow.
thus far, which
It's a
I
low
Bloody unacceptable.
I
Bloody
stand
unacceptable.
behind.
Schultzy, Ledger or Secret? Which one do you want to talk about first?
We probably shouldn't talk about Secret because it's not that fun. Next week it'll be way more fun, I think.
I can't wait to hear why.
What exactly happened? There was a lockup.
Well, so there was a halt for the upgrade and there was like a bug in it, but the fallout from the bug is what's super interesting, which we can talk about next week because it hasn't been fully.
So did they end up rolling back a block, or what did they end up doing?
No, they just put up a new version and then
we
upgraded the version and kept going. It just took a long time.
Okay.
So that wasn't super dramatic. It was annoying from a validator perspective because there was like 4 different steps. Like the first step was like, okay, do the upgrade. And then we all got 1 block forward and then everything halted. And so then we all had to turn pruning off for a block. Or we had to turn off pruning. So we became archive nodes for a couple blocks and then it halted again. And then they had to investigate that for like 4 blocks. And then we had to upgrade to the next one. And then we had to turn on to a different halt. And then we had to upgrade to the next one. And so like if anyone creates an archive node, it's going to be absolute hell in like a 10 block phase. But that's not a huge deal. What's more interesting is what's gonna come out because it's gonna be good.
Market, which was pre-marketplace launch. And hindsight's also always 2020. Like
I'm muting Null.
Null's
just muted him.
Face.
Annoying shit.
And UST,
all right. God damn it.
That meant like I didn't have like the chance to.
We know that that's going on. All right.
Can I just observe that we obviously are friends of Jake on this podcast, but I'm not sure doing a Twitter space right in the middle of the drama is the greatest idea.
There is 101 watching. There's 7 here. What are you doing, people? Go to the fucking Twitter Spaces.
Dude, if I make $6 million and get caught doing it in this type of I guarantee I will bring it to Game of Nodes.
Yes, please do. And then
I guarantee.
Like that's where Shroot is. Shroot's over there listening to that shit.
Why didn't he just come on Game of Nodes and tell everyone? Why didn't he just like, all right, listen, we're gonna talk about on Game of Nodes.
Agreed.
2100 UTC.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, he'd get a fucking soapy reception here, wouldn't he?
That's what we needed. Actually, maybe that's what we should be doing. We should be following the drama. We should be inviting the drama in. And
I mean,
like that. I'd rather.
I feel like
we created some last week, but then we only mentioned it at 1 hour and 25 minutes, and we didn't like pre-warn the drama. It's just Rama mentioned it in the chat, and then we were like, oh yeah, we should talk about the drama.
Like, oh yeah, forgot about that.
So we literally semi-originated that drama, but
we should bring people on here to hack out their shit.
Yeah,
just transfer it from Twitter to here. Like, just come on here.
Next week on Game of Nodes, Shane from Stargaze and Jake from Stargaze in the blue.
Formerly from the symbol formerly known as Stargaze.
The symbol formerly known as Stargaze. So near me.
What about Jorge Hernandez? Don't forget about Jorge.
Jorge. Thing is, Jorge is just. I guarantee Jorge is the nice guy stood in the corner, being like, guys.
Let's all get along.
Please make it stop.
Jorge is honestly the soundest guy I had a very lovely dinner with him once.
He's a
He was
very kind man.
He's just so lovely. He's just a very kind
He
man.
is. He is.
He has
Very
some
smart,
very nice dogs.
very intelligent.
Yeah, come on,
Yeah.
guys. Don't be like that. Let's all sit together, have a nice cup of tea, and talk this out.
I feel like Jorge was almost like mum and dad are fighting.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious about other wallets on Stargaze. Like, did Shane and Jorge make, a decent amount? I hope they did, right?
Not decent enough though.
Yeah,
thought
that's
so.
lame.
It's community.
Time to get out the shit digging shovel.
There's a chippy a few miles south of where I live. I cycle past quite a bit. I think it's a chip shop. I think it's a chippy. And it's called Aptos and Stargaze. I'm not even fucking kidding. It's literally called that. And every time I ride past it on my way to the station down there, sometimes I have to go down there to get trains. I'm like, my delegation strategy. But now, can I continue? Yeah, no, I'm obviously going to keep our stars. I think this is a good chain. But yeah.
So are we talking about like French fries when you say chips? Is that what you're talking about? Like, okay, all right, just making sure, because I don't know what people are talking about.
A fish and chip shop. A fish and chip shop.
Fish and chips. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, you may have heard.
French fries and chips are materially different things.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they?
Chips are completely different to French fries. That French fries are not chips.
Okay. What's the difference?
Well,
A fry
attitude.
is a long, skinny piece of potato, deep
No.
fried.
No.
A chip is a fat boy,
No.
deep fried.
No.
yeah, chips are
Okay,
fat.
so what's a fat boy?
They're all fries.
You know,
Like,
it's
it
like,
depends
it's
where it came
thicker. It's
from.
like
Everybody makes-
materially thicker. It's got more potato content than fucking fat content. You know,
We would call it like a steakhouse fried
Yeah, okay.
Schulte, like,
Steak
you know what I
fry?
mean, like
Got it.
either skin on or skin off, but something that's cut into large slices, like inch wide by like
because
whatever.
it's the whole
Got it.
potato as well. You get the edges, so you
Yeah,
get
you get the
edges,
skin. Those are all
and-
fries in the U.S.
and then you get some of the bits and pieces.
Still fries.
Yeah, like
yeah, it's
scraps.
just another unit of
Well, the
measurement that
scraps is a
the
totally different thing
fucking
as well.
states have fucked up.
No, it's just a fry. That's it.
All right, we got 18 minutes, and I want to talk about the ledger drama.
Let's talk
just
about ledger
because-
drama.
Let's
Okay.
do it. Ledger me up.
So ledger drama. Here's the ledger drama. So ledger, this was first announced. So here's how it transpired. At like 3 a.m., they pushed a commit to their GitHub, and in the GitHub there was a change log where they were like, "Oh, with this change, we can now shard private keys and send them to companies or something." It was pretty inane like that, and naturally, someone saw it and was like, "Hold on a second, what the hell is this?" And what it came to be was Ledger is coming out. Ledger, the hardware wallet that is coming out with a new product called Ledger Recover. They weren't. It seems like to me that they weren't prepared to actually like announce this yet. It was because someone was trolling the changelog.
Yeah.
In Ledger Recover, what you do is basically you subscribe to it. It's $10 a month, and if you subscribe to it, you accept a transaction on your ledger, and that will shard your private key and send it to 3 different companies. Those 3 companies then have to like get your driver's license or passport or something in order to have like a visual identifier. But the purpose is with those shards, with 2 out of 3 of them, you can then rebuild your private key with those shards, right? So the drama in this, one of the many dramas in this, like there's a lot of issues. If it's all based on identity and we can deep fake something, is it potentially you might be able to deep fake like a video call or something. But anyway, ignoring like government actors that can go to a company and be like, okay, well, you have a shard and I want it. Ignoring that, the implication there is Ledger does in fact have access to your private key when it was promised that they don't. They cannot get it from your hardware.
They
wallet.
couldn't re-extract it.
Thank you. Yes, that's a better way
Right.
of putting
I
it.
think it goes the other way. Or, but I don't know. Do we know that it doesn't mean that the user has to well, we can get to that. If they have to re-input it, or they can actually it's just a firmware.
Well,
so
but
they
if it-
can now
could it just
extract
be-
it.
But could it just be a proof that comes from the private key? Because if you, no, wait, yeah, no, there's no way of doing that cryptographically, is there?
At some point, they would have to slice that key up, right? Like if
So they
they
need
are
access to the
doing
key.
that, and even if they mix a salt in there, or the user's passcode plus something from Ledger or something else, right? They still would have to have the full key knowledge to be able to do that.
And
right?
they do. They've said that they do.
Yeah.
You have to accept a transaction. It'll go in. It'll get your key. It'll basically turn it into three separate shards. It won't have your secret recovery phrase, your mnemonics, because that's only generated on the fly. But that's
Right.
another kind of point that people are getting lost in. Like, your secret recovery phrase, your mnemonic, is hiding your private key. If they have access to your private key, that's more serious than them having access to your mnemonic.
Yes.
But whatever.
Yeah. Right. So, and then this is different from what Trezor does, because we were talking about this as well. So Trezor has a Trezor. They have something similar where, not similar. They have something where you can shard the key at the time of creation, right? And I don't even know if you can do this if you recover a key. I assume you could, but you can't do it if you recover. It has to be a new generated key.
Has to be a newly generated key.
Okay.
That's the key point to me. Sorry. Keep going.
No. So Trezor has a thing where if you generate a new key at the time of generation, during that generation process, it can shard those and create 3 separate pieces with, I assume, passcode on top of that, or multiple passcode. I don't know what the hell it works. And then you can be able to distribute that out to 2 or 3 others if you want to be able to do that.
Up to 16, even.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you can do like 7 of 15 or whatever the hell you want. Or 8 of 15.
And I think that's one of the big issues for me with this, is that they're actually using Shamir backups for the key. That's what really annoys me. So there's the ledger has the capability of doing a backup, but they don't allow it for users, apparently. And my issue is that Trezor, I think the way they go about it is really smart, where if you create your wallet, then we can do a backup now. If we don't do a backup now, we're not doing it. Full stop. Ledger then allowing the private key to be accessed to create a backup, that bothers me. I don't know if it should bother me. I don't know if there's a meaningful difference there, but it does.
I guess it's happening before, in Trezor's situation, it's happening before it's put into the secure element type of idea. And so once it's in there, it's in there. Is that the difference, I guess? Because I guess in this situation, the thing people are really going apeshit around on this ledger thing is that the idea that the firmware is being changed where that secure element can be read, right?
There really isn't a meaningful difference. So the way that hardware wallets work is a very high level abstraction, right? There's 3 aspects to using a hardware wallet, right? You've got your client, so that's like MetaMask, and then you got your app, which is on the ledger, and then you have the secure element itself, right? So there's 3 components. So the client will then send a transaction to the app. The app will then interface with the secure module, which the secure module will then actually do a return of the private key to the app. So the private key exits the secure module on the ledger. The important part is that these 2 things, like the app and the ledger, are isolated. So the private key, while it is taken out of secure enclave, it is still it's still only on the device, and then the response is sent back to the client, right?
Yeah.
The ledger recover, my issue with that is that it then leaves the device fully. But going back to the original question about the Trezor, so I don't think it's a meaningful difference that it's split up. Like before it goes into enclave or not. I think it's just like having an understanding of what can access and where the key can go once the key has been set, right? It's like it's the user story, the user's expectations. Now the expectation is, oh well, the key obviously can now exit the hardware device, when previously that was like that wasn't allowed.
Right. So
but then that's only up to the application. It's like you said, it's because the application can do it, and so they programmed an application that can do it. So the smarter story here for Ledger, and I assume that I've only loosely followed this, so I don't know what their corporate line is, but is to presumably just say, well, look, folks, this is why you should do your own research for what apps you're installing on the device, because they all. How do you think we upgrade? When there's changes to these to chains that mean something meaningfully changes about the way they sign, you run an upgrade on your ledger and it continues to work. Now, stop and think a second about what that means. The software that's interacting with your ledger device and the software on it can be upgraded, and that software can touch your key. So it follows it follows that if something malicious were to happen with that software, you would be in, I believe the technical term is a spot of bother. So I mean, there's a whole bunch of interesting things there, but I think, like you say, probably the biggest problem is it's the expectations of the user who's assume this is Fort Knox rather than an embedded device running some software.
Yeah, and I think the issue also is like, hold on, I gotta think about how to word this. I'm not thinking of a good way of wording it. I guess
Go
I'll
with the
pass.
spicy way.
Pass.
Well, I
Well,
think, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, I think the other thing I was noticing a difference in these two different models is that Ledger, like that hardware device, does allow you to recover a key that exists. And I'm not sure how many other hardware devices do that, because I think I was looking at a tweet I'll put in the show notes as well. But there's a tweet by somebody from the trust infrastructure team at Apple, and so Ledger, his point was that his or her, I don't know, the Ledger is following properties. The seed is user provided in clear text. The seed is encrypted by the device key derived from the user passphrase and a Ledger owned shared key that's burned into every device when the device is locked or when the seed is exported. Right, you need a mix of both the hardware as well as the passphrase I'm providing to get in. That's why if I put in 3 times, it deletes it, right, and all that kind of shit. Here, it can only leave the device encrypted if the user wants that, with the same guarantees that the current model, which allows exporting keys in an encrypted way through a user-provide passphrase already. Unlike Apple Secure Enclave, which doesn't allow you to provide pre-existing keys, and only to create them within the SCP, which I think is the same way that we were talking about in that situation, the treasure, the device has to create it, right? It can't be like user input to be able to do that. It's just saying it's a different model. And so Ledger's firmware has always been upgradable, and you're already trusting them with the device in the first place. The passphrase encrypted key can now get exported in a 3-way split to 3 different institutions.
So the implication there is
that, go ahead.
Sorry, so the implication there is I'm not that familiar with how Trezor works, but can you not upgrade the software on Trezor then? Because I could be wrong, but my understanding would be that in the Trezor case, any software you install on the device can interact with the private key. That's inherently how it must work. Like that's how hardware wallets work, right? So at the root of all of this, where the other wallets are like, but we don't let you recover your key after the fact, which, don't get me wrong, I think is probably a feature, not a bug. They're also kind of just quietly not mentioning the real thing that I think has freaked users out, like, which is basically what Schulze said, which is that users, I think, don't have the right mental model for how that software is actually able to access your private key.
Right.
And I think that's the same across the hardware wallets, if I've understood correctly. And if I understand hardware wallets, which, let's face it, I probably fucking don't.
I think that's correct. One other note I'll make is that if you go on Ledger Live, unless you go into development mode, every single app and every single version of that app that is on Ledger Live has been reviewed by Ledger. They've said that this app is not going to export your key anywhere. However, if you go and install a dev app, like, I don't know, as an example, I know a lot of us have the Desmos app installed. That's a dev app. They could have exported the private key doing that because we basically sideloaded it, right?
Didn't they ask for the private key when they first launched? Remember that? They were like, didn't their Desmos wallet or something like that wanted you to input the
they were
like, remember that?
Yeah, I forgot about
the
that.
airdrop.
What a great coincidence!
Just shove your key in here. Even if you got a Ledger, just you can export it.
They were the ones walking around in Lisbon with hoodies that said "End human slavery."
Perfect.
Nice.
Unironically, they were like, that is our marketing slogan, lads. Let's print 100 hoodies. This does not make us look like we literally have never stepped foot in the real world before.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, you were saying, Schulze.
No, that's basically it. Like, there's a lot of different vectors here, and if you are using the basic 2 apps of like MetaMask and like the Bitcoin app, then you're safe. There are a couple answers I would like, and Todd in the chat has a couple good questions. He said, the question I would like to have answered is this a new command available under normal operation or only in management install mode? And I think that's kind of the point that I was coming to in like, there's different sections. Like when you're starting it up, it's in a different mode, right? Versus like normal mode, when you say normal operation, that's kind of what it's getting as well. Is like, if it's in the very beginning, that's whenever it's available and that's it, fine. a normal operation, that kind of bothers me. Another question is like, if it requires a separate app, like does it require a separate app to export it? Or when you're on Ledger Live, do you just click, export my private key here or whatever once I've subscribed? Basically, I just need more information to make a full judgment.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm not too concerned. Like I have a Ledger Stacks pre-ordered, and I'm not going to cancel it.
There's just honestly for what we do, there's not others that are as large in terms of like CLI interfacing and other. I mean, I know there's a lot of examples. We've been talking about the what's the one we were just talking about with
Got Keystone.
Keystone, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw Sonny put a pretty large list out for it. Because he was talking about how many different both hardware wallets and like software wallets he has, like in Chrome or something like that. He has like 10 hardware wallets. And there's a lot of options out there, but like just the integration at the Kepler side or whatever, Chrome extension there is, and then all this other thing. And also from a validator perspective, some of the tools that we use are only CLI. And so you just can't assume that there's going to be QR code support on every single, thing that you're running, right? And a lot of that, Ledger is the leader in those types of things, fortunately or unfortunately, I guess, however you want to think about it. But there's not a lot of options for some.
I guess it's all just risk management after a point, though, isn't it? Like you can split them up, you can put them, have only the Cosmos app on the Cosmos ones and have different keys for different ecosystems, and you end up with 10 different ledgers for different use cases. And at the end of the day, if you install the wrong app on them, you're still fucked. Yeah. If you're walking around with it in your back pocket and somebody hits you over the head with a hammer, you're still fucked. So it's all about like layered security in terms of like physical, cyber, hardware, software, like it's all those different things.
Yep.
And eventually it's just about risk, I suppose, isn't it, after a point?
Yeah, that's right. And like what really is a vector here associated to that. So I mean there's fucking Twitter's going nuts though.
I dipped in while we were talking there, just out of curiosity, just like Ledger, and I was like, holy crap, shit. Okay. Yeah, Homer Simpson backing into the hedge. I was like, okay, everybody's angrier than I am. I'm just going to back away from this one, actually.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I do agree. I think what you said initially was like, this came out, and I don't think they were ready at all. Like even that CEO or CEO or CTO who posted that note in Reddit, like that note was so dismissive, and it was just like, I don't think they realized like what a fucking shitstorm was brewing. And then like somebody just do like, yeah, it's no fucking big deal, blah, blah, blah. And like read the room, dude. no one to shut the fuck up and wait for somebody who knows how to handle angry mobs to get involved.
Yeah, and they haven't really answered any questions. They keep putting out like the same thread of like how it works, and that same thread doesn't really answer anything. And people are like, so is this a yes or a no? And then they just don't respond. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You're like, well, you could solve this. Like I feel like you're just missing like 8 words, and those 8 words would solve it. Right. Like it, God.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, Ledger's not going anywhere, unfortunately, right now.
Ledger's not going anywhere. Somewhere that's not going anywhere. Oh, no, there's no. We've already talked about the secret chain hole. That would have been a good segue. But
we
already talked about. We're past my. I'm so tired. I literally can't even function at the moment because 10 weeks, baby. It's a never-ending party. Gitopia launched.
Yes, it did today.
Oh, I'm so excited about Gitopia.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got fucking rugged. We got fucking rugged out of those test nets so quickly. And then we're inactive, and it was just a fucking pain in the ass. So we bailed, but
you should check if you have any rewards in your testnet wallet.
Really?
Yeah, you should. Yes. And delegate them to me because I'm falling out of the set already because I'm not running an auto compounder every 8 seconds.
Is Gitopia gonna make it though?
I hope so. I think
that's the hot take. The rest of these chains are fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I like Gitopia.
I think it's too early. I don't think
Gitopia with a stable. Gitopia with a stable would make it. Gitopia with its own token with no exogenous security is NGMI. Hot take. There you go.
I don't know. Does it need that?
Conceptually, though, I think it's a really cool idea. I think that one of the things crypto can do really well is feeding into the open source ecosystem. And I don't know. I
I
really
think
like
it's needed as a tool. I agree with you. Like if you buy into the whole like DAOs do everything, DAOs ship code, DAOs do this, like the
Yeah.
IBC message to upload some code to a Git repo. Yeah, 100%. I
Hot
buy
take
it.
before the rug. Hot take before the rug. Would it be so bad if app chains just used USDC coin as their base token instead of having their own coin? Would that be so bad? And then, create a product that works so that you can get revenue from USDC piped back into like some team coffers or something like that. I mean, why have your own token? Why not just use a stable
why
coin?
not just use the good old fashioned petrodollar?
The gold standard.
Let's just